The savanna stretched out as a vast golden sea where the horizon shimmered in the heat haze and the wind carried the scent of dry grass and distant rains. Here, under the scorching sun, he reigned, the king of the savanna. His mane, dark as the night sky, swayed with every step, and his eyes burned with amber fire, radiating strength, pride, and unrivaled power. His roar echoed across the plains, making hyenas freeze in fear and antelopes flee without looking back. He was the embodiment of wild freedom, and no one dared challenge his authority. But one day, his step became his undoing. The morning was like any other. The sun had just risen, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. The lion patrolled his territory, weaving through acacias and thorny bushes. His paws trod confidently on the dry earth, leaving deep prints in the dust. He didn't notice the glint of metal hidden among the grass, placed with cunning intent. One misstep, and a steel trap set by poachers snapped shut on his front paw with a dull clang. Pain seared through his body like lightning. The lion roared, his voice tearing through the savanna's silence, but only the echo from the hills answered. He lunged, trying to break free. His claws scratched the earth, muscles straining to their limit, but the trap held fast. Each struggle only intensified the pain, and blood began to soak the sand beneath him. The lion, accustomed to being the hunter, felt like prey for the first time. His roar grew hoarser, filled with desperation. He didn't know who had set this trap, unaware that poachers had been tracking him for days, coveting his mane and fangs as trophies. All he knew was pain and fear, emotions he had never experienced before. Hours dragged on slowly like scorching sand slipping through fingers. The sun climbed higher, burning relentlessly, and the lion weakened. Thirst seared his throat, but he couldn't reach the watering hole. Hunger gnawed at him, but he couldn't hunt. The trap became not only a physical, but also a mental prison. The king of the savanna, always so invincible, was now chained to the spot, like common prey. His pride battled despair, but with each passing hour his strength waned. He began to call for help, not roaring, not threatening, but emitting low, mournful sounds filled with pain and hope. It was not the growl of a predator, but a plea for salvation. A day passed, then another. The savanna seemed to have turned its back on its king. Hyenas circled nearby, sensing weakness, but they didn't dare approach. Even wounded, he still inspired fear. Vultures began gathering on the branches of acacias, their silhouettes darkening against the sunset sky. The lion barely moved, only breathing heavily, staring into the void. His once lush mane was now coated in dust, and his eyes had dulled. But a spark still flickered in them, a spark of life, a spark of hope that refused to fade. At the end of the second day, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, a sound broke the silence. It was the rangers, people who had dedicated their lives to protecting the wild. They patrolled the savanna, checking for traps that poachers set with alarming frequency. Their old dust-covered jeep stopped nearby, and two men stepped out, rifles at the ready. They knew they were approaching a wounded lion, and it scared them. A cornered predator could be deadly, even if weakened, but they couldn't leave him to die. Their duty called them forward. When the rangers drew closer, they froze. The lion lay there, breathing heavily, his paw caught in the trap, his fur soaked with blood. But instead of growling or lunging at them, he lifted his head and looked straight into their eyes. There was no threat in that gaze. It held pain, exhaustion, and something else, almost a human plea for help. The older ranger lowered his rifle. He had seen many animals, but never a look like this. "He won't attack," he said quietly to his partner. "He knows we're here to help." They acted quickly but cautiously. One ranger prepared a tranquilizer dart while the other readied tools. The lion didn't resist as the needle pierced his skin. His eyelids slowly closed, and he sank into a deep sleep. The rangers worked in sync, They pried open the trap, careful not to further damage the already mangled paw. Blood oozed from deep wounds, but thankfully the bones were intact. They cleaned the wound, applied antiseptic, and tightly bandaged the paw. All the while, the lion slept, his breathing growing steadier, as if he sensed the danger receding. When he awoke, the sun had risen. The trap was gone. Pain still throbbed in his paw, but it was dulled, and the bandage protected the wound. The rangers watched from a distance, ready to leave as soon as he stood. The lion rose slowly, swaying. His movements were unsteady, but they carried the hint of his former strength. He looked around as if searching for those who had saved his life, but the rangers had already vanished beyond the horizon. They sought no gratitude. Their reward was knowing the king of the savannah was free again. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The wound healed, but a scar remained, deep, jagged, stretching across his paw. This scar became part of his story, a reminder of the day he teetered on the edge of death. The lion returned to his life. He hunted, defended his territory, and his roar once again thundered across the savannah. But something in him had changed. He became more cautious, more vigilant, as if each step was now deliberate. His eyes, still burning with amber light, now saw the world differently. They held a depth, an understanding that even a king could become vulnerable. The savannah continued its rhythm. Antelopes grazed on the plains, hyenas cackled in the night, and vultures circled over carrion. But for the lion, everything was different. He knew that in this world there were not only predators and prey, but also those who chose to save rather than kill. The scar on his paw became not just a memory of pain, but a symbol of hope, a hope that even in the harshest world there was room for compassion. Now, as he walks the savannah, his steps are still confident but more measured. His mane sways in the wind, and the scar gleams under the sun like a silver thread woven into his story. He is a king again, but a king who knows the cost of freedom. Deep in his heart lives gratitude for the people whose hands freed him from the steel jaws, returning him to the savannah, his home, his kingdom. The scar is not just a mark of pain, but a testament that even in the darkest moments, light can break through. This story is not about falling, but about rising. It's about how even a king can stumble but stand again, bearing scars that make him stronger. It's about how, in the wild, where strength and instinct reign, there is room for a miracle, the miracle of human kindness. The lion lives, and his roar echoes over the savannah once more, reminding all that even in the darkest moments, there is hope. His scar is not just a mark, but an eternal reminder that life goes on no matter what, and that even a king can find salvation through compassion.